Welcome to another episode of Mental Wellness Insights, bringing sunlight into mental illness. We are once again privileged to have the youth pastor, Reverend Kimani. This time around, he will be speaking to us on drug and substance abuse. Welcome, Rev.
Thank you very much. Thank you, our viewers, and welcome to this channel. It's once again another opportunity to be able to discuss a very healthy topic that concerns our lives. My name is Reverend Kimani Stephen. I am a born-again Christian. I serve at PCA Kajedo Township, which is in Kajedo Parish, in Kajedo Presbytery, and I work there as a youth coordinator, and it's such a privilege to be able to reach many through this channel, even those who are beyond my scope of jurisdiction. And so it's an opportunity. Let's go this journey together as we discuss this issue.
Thank you very much, Reverend Kimani. Today we will request that you tell us what exactly is addiction, drug, particularly drug and substance, and how it comes about, and why is it so difficult to come out of it, and how does one come out of it? So I'll call upon you to tell us more about this.
Yeah, there are many definitions depending on what platform you are on. Again, as a disclaimer, I will also say that I'm not a psychiatrist, and so what I say is mostly from experience with the people that I meet, and because what I want to give, I know that in this forum you'll have experts who are going to be very professional.
True.
But for me, I'm going to speak especially from the experiences that I've had with the young people. And so my definition when it comes to addiction, I do believe that it is a disorder. It is a disorder that is compulsive towards a particular substance. And this compulsion is something that speaks to the mind that you cannot do without it and you cannot live without it. And it's also a way where a body seeks a reward. When it lacks, or when you want to relax, when you want to feel good, you want to go into things that will affect in the way that you think, in the way you reason, so that you can forget either your challenges, or you want to be high, or when you want to be happy. And so it is more of rewarding the body so that it can give you your so-called desired results that you want. And so, in other words, in a simple terms, I would say that drug addiction is a compulsive behavior, which is actually a problem in the mind. It alters, something that alters the way you reason or you view something such that you feel like you cannot live without it.
Why is it that there are some people who are compelled to do drugs or alcohol, and there are some people who are not? And why is it that there are some people who take alcohol but they are not addicted, while there are some who are? What drives somebody to alcohol and substance abuse until they reach the stage of addiction?
We face the same kind of problems in society, and because the problems are common and they're the same, but we have different mechanisms of solving and the way we view challenges. And just like you see that there are animals that live in the deep ocean and they cannot be crushed by the pressure. The same pressure will kill one, and the same pressure will be the survival for that animal, or for those marine creatures. And sometimes even lack of that, the same pressure will kill some. If some of those that live down there in the deep sea come to the surface, they're even likely to burst or to explode because they live through that pleasure. We come also from different backgrounds, and we view things in different ways. The worst way is to assume that we see things in the same way. We have different mechanisms of dealing with our challenges. To others, challenges are an opportunity, even for a business. To others, they view challenges as things that have come to destroy them and are supposed to kill them, so they must find a way out. When it comes to why some people are affected, genetically we are wired differently. We have different blood types. Our strengths are also the same. Just the same way you can see that we eat the same food, it becomes one is sick of food poisoning and the other one is very, very okay. And so we have different ways of handling these drugs. The reaction in our bodies is totally different. That is why even the common food, there's somebody who will have an allergy on this and the other one has no allergy. And so we are different depending on our genetic composition.
You are dealing with youth, and I'm aware you have dealt with a lot of youth, not just in Kajiado, but you have widely been in touch with youth. What is the prevalence of drug and alcohol addiction in the youth in Kenya today?
Okay, I may not have the correct demographics when it comes to specific numbers, but I know that it is very, very high, especially among the boys, and it also matters from one drug to the other. For example, things like changa and spirits, whatever they're calling the spirits and wines. The number of those taking them is very, very high. Number one, because it is accessible. Every other corner has a wine and spirit shop, and so it is very accessible. So the prevalence when it comes to things like changa is very high. Bang is also very prevalent, especially among men and especially boys, because it is smoked. Sometimes it is smoked even by students. And so some of them begin even as students. Some of them have a prolonged use and have become so addicted to it. So ranging from one drug to the other, unless we deal with the different demographics, but generally many young people are into drugs. Many young people.
What do you think is driving our young people to addiction?
We are talking about peer pressure, especially during the puberty age, where young people are still finding themselves. They're trying to find their identity. There are many young people who are being lured into it by being told that you can only be a man or a grown-up if you use some particular type of drugs, and they're introduced into them. The other one is bad company. Bad company, if you walk with those who are taking drugs, you are likely to be in it. The other problem I've seen is absenteeism of parents. Parenting is becoming a challenge where parents are literally bribing their children to love them and to appreciate them as parents, and so they give them a leeway to do whatever they want. Many of the children are brought up by the house helps, where both parents are not available, or in the case where a single parent is there, could either be a single mother or a single father, they are so busy looking for the wealth, and sometimes they forget the parenting issue. And so the children are at liberty to do whatever they want. Sometimes they misuse the drugs right in the house. Yes.
Now, there are also instances where we have talked about the family. A family go out with their children and they go to a drinking place, and does that also have some contribution towards children getting to alcoholism even at very early age?
Yes. In fact, I've only spoken about two. One, we've talked about peer pressure. We've also talked about company. We've also talked about absent parents.
Yeah.
But we also have parents who expose their children to some of these drugs, either smoking. If a father is smoking in the house, and sometimes even sending these children
to buy
the cigarettes.
Yeah.
So children are likely to admire the action because parents don't do anything that is bad. Parents are always righteous and they're always good according to children, so they'll tend to copy it. And the other one is just sheer rebellion. There's a parent who brings up their children very well, but because of either company and all that, and they want to feel that they are grown up, out of just rebellion, sometimes they might just choose to take some of these things. And also, we can also not rule out curiosity. For example, there is a drug that is very common with girls, and girls are feeling that they are better off when they are in it than others. And this is a drug called shisha. And especially because of having those feminine feature, I don't know, I think they have different flavors. I hear there is even strawberry shisha. Whatever the strawberry, whatever smoke that tastes strawberry, I don't know, because I've never tried it. But I think because of that, there could be a lot of influence and curiosity of wanting to know what is this and how does it taste. Yes.
Schools. Right now, there is the prevalence of drugs and alcohol taking in schools and colleges is so high. What is happening in our society today?
The young people, because of exposure to a lot of information, most of the young people are able to get information outside of their scope, like in their house. I can take this mobile phone of mine and I can be able to Google things and get information over whatever is going on. And so this gadget has almost become like the teacher, the parent, and the role model of many people, many young people's lives. And that is why when they meet and they explain to their colleagues whom they are studying with, they create methods and styles of hiding from those who are monitoring them. And you can bet, unless you become as wise as them, and unless you know them and you understand how they are, it becomes basically almost impossible to notice when they're going for these drugs. Yes.
Does social status drive addiction? Like, does social status promote addiction, alcohol and substance? I'm saying this because just recently I heard of a college in Nairobi, where children are allowed to take alcohol even into class. And are allowed to go and drink provided they do not go in the uniform. And then I was also told that there are some parents who give their children money, pocket money and separate money for for alcohol. So social status, and how does this impact the ones of the lower status in the same institutions?
Now, I would say that every cadre has its own challenges. Like I said about parenting, some of those who have, or some of those who have had a chance to, maybe God grant them grace to acquire wealth very early, the anxiety of losing the money sometimes drives them so hard to keep looking for more. So sometimes they have no time for parenting. And some of them were brought up by parents like that. And so they have nothing again to offer to their children except what they know. If you are brought up by a parent who was drinking, brought up by a parent who was doing and made that one a standard at home, and just like in the same way, a parent who would bring multiple partners in the house, you expect the same child to have degraded morals when it comes to how they handle some things that we may consider immoral. And so in the same way, if you have a lot of money and very few challenges, it's not like maybe a child from Kibera or Mathare, where if you get this, you need to think about, you don't have a book, you don't have a shoe, this child has access to all those. So when they have money, what do I do with the money? Then I will go to what I think I should. And if I'm seeing it done in the house, and maybe, and you know, according to young people's curiosity, if you set this standard, the standard at one level, they'll always want to go higher. If at home we are taking wine, the curiosity of wanting to know how spirits taste, the curiosity of wanting to know how other stronger stuff taste. And you remember last time I talked about drug tolerance. Now you've taken this wine in the house and it has become boring. It's just like tea. You do not even get high. And you want to get high. And you have money that is lying idle. You have no responsibility. And so definitely you are most likely to go for those tougher things. But poor parenting, I think, is what is affecting, especially those high end, where parents literally want to buy the love from their children. So allowing them to do whatever they think will create joy or will become joy to their children.
Do you think then poor parenting of the high end has also impact on the low end? Because children of the low end being pushed to probably depression and all because of seeing the others having a free-for-all money, alcohol and all, and they cannot have.
You know, unfortunately, and especially when it comes to secondary school, all these children are likely to meet in the same school.
Yeah.
And when they meet, they will explain their experiences. And in most cases, the lower ones will admire and want to live like the rest. And this causes them to either request those, either to win favor of these ones. Sometimes they'll also require or request that they be allowed by those who have to influence them. And this is why even the cases of gayism, especially in school, and lesbianism, because of offering these goodies because they have them, that is why they are allowing, that is why the lower cadre is affected by the high-end families. And you'll guess that is why many schools have said that they do not even want food or anything to be carried into schools. Because kids are getting brighter, and people are coming from different families, and people are affecting each other from whatever. As long as they are together, they're going to affect one another.
Do you think these parents particularly these parents of high end, do you think they do these things with the express knowledge of what they're doing, even to their children or to the society? Or is there some lack of knowledge?
If a parent was brought up in a poor background, either they were beaten, they were so disciplined, and sometime they come saying that I'll never subject my children to these kind of things, they are likely to make very serious mistakes in terms of bringing up their children. There are those who are doing it because they do not have anything else to offer. That is the kind of life they know. And they are so innocent about it. They might even know they are wrong. But how do I win my children? Because if I do not have a conviction over something, I cannot instill it into my children. And again, some of them know it is wrong, but they cannot be able to control their children. So to win them over, they have to allow them to do things even when they know those things are wrong. Yes.
Okay. Now, going away from schools and to our society, and I want to particularly go to our rural society.
Yes.
There are places where you go and find that a great percentage of the population are like alcoholics or drug addicts. Now, in a previous episode, we talked about curses or generational curses. Are these as a result of generational curses, or what happens?
Now, it is good to realize that even though addiction is demonic, but it's good to realize that most of it, almost 100%, begins from behavior. You pick a particular behavior and you keep on moving with it. Instead of dealing with it, it can be very stressful. And it doesn't matter whether you're in town or you are in the rural. Sometimes it begins just like a hobby or something that you like, and you just say that it is once in a while. And then it takes momentum. And eventually you become so dependent on it that you cannot get out of it. And eventually it hooks you and enslaves you. And that is now when the problem now settles in, that you cannot get out of it. Now remember, there are two things that you need to understand. When it is coming from generation, if we are talking about now the generational, there are parents who have used some of these things. And so by the time the children are born, they are already susceptible to those kind of things. So if you dare just expose them to alcohol, they will connect so easily. Just the same way you hear that sometimes violence affects, or the health of a mother really affects the child in the womb. In the same way, also, if the parents use these drugs when they are when the child is in the womb, he's likely to become very susceptible. It is not a must, it is not always, but most of the cases, that is how the situation has been. Yes. And sometimes we might be forced to interpret it as generational curses.
Yeah, because there are particular communities who are known to be alcoholics. Just like there's a town in Western Kenya known as Luanda, where it is said that it has the most madmen in that market. Luanda has so many, mad people. What is this? But again, Luanda has so many addicted people, drugs, a lot of drug addiction in that area.
Now, that one we can also we can place that one under a culture, a particular culture. A town can pick up a certain culture, a particular behavior that becomes a culture. If you have a society that does not care so much about education, and it does not promote education in itself, you're likely to find very queer problems. Haphazard marriages, haphazard sexual behaviors, use of alcohol, things like crime rate. And so, if a particular society like that one you're talking of, Luanda, if there is a prevalence of, let's say, drug use, or whether it is changam, whether it is bangi, they're using it in very high content, and it becomes a culture for that society to use it, then you expect to see a lot of mad people. You're likely to see a lot of school dropouts.
Yeah.
You're likely to see a lot of young girls with children. You're likely to see a lot of people who are not married within that place. Why? Because they made it their culture. And of course that now culture goes a long way with what? With the spiritualism. Because again, with all that kind of poverty, it is also possible to find people consulting a lot of witchcraft and all that. And so spiritism becomes also very prevalent. And so it would not be surprising to find a lot of mad people, that kind of an area. And that is why in many places you'll find a particular challenge that is very common with the people in that area. Because even when you go to a place where you have a lot of people who are learned, you are likely to find so many degrees in that area. It's very possible. We influence each other in the way we live.
Does poverty encourage addiction?
Yes. And I would say this. But I will not say poverty as such, that poverty can affect. It may be a contributing factor, just like any other challenge, just as we talked about free hand money from the high-end families. But poverty also contributes in this way. If I do not have and I want to be like others, and I'm trying in every method, I am trying in every way, but things are not working out. Now what happens? I will try to escape from the reality. I will try to move away from what is logical. Maybe get lost into drugs, get lost into alcoholism, get lost in or indulge in very criminal activities. And it is because I want to run away from that reality, because I'm trying every way and I'm not coming through. And so I feel that I need something to make me forget about it. So when I go to indulge myself into these drug issues or alcoholism, in the process it becomes a culture to me. In the process I become addicted. And in the process I get into deeper problems. And the more I get a problem, unless I know how to solve it, I'll keep getting deeper and deeper and deeper until I cannot get it. I'm totally hooked to those substances.
Because we know that in many cases, addicted people are hooked such that they even end up selling everything just to get the alcohol or the drug.
Yes. You are a slave to what you give yourself to. Okay? Whoever you allow to control you now becomes your master. And these are the same words that are quoted in 2 Peter chapter 2 and verses 19.
2 Peter chapter 2 verse 19 says this: people are slaves to whatever has mastered them. And the question is, What are you a slave to? What is it that has mastered you? Thank you for watching this episode. Look out for part 2 next week. This channel is meant to create awareness on various issues that impact our mental health. You can help in this by subscribing and sharing. It doesn't really cost you anything. God bless.